Hello everyone and welcome to our Facebook Live video today. Today we are joined by Mary Turner Thompson, who you may recognise from the recent documentary on Channel 4, My Online Nightmare, and who is also the author of the true life story, The Bigamist. So here at Who You, our kind of main aim is to help protect you from financial loss and scams. Our identity checking service fully verifies another person's identity to help check they are who they say they are. So Mary has come along today to share her unique story and give her advice on people who have unfortunately fallen victim to scams and how to kind of stay safe when speaking with people online. So hello and welcome. In summary, I'd like to kind of, for you to tell us your story. Essentially, it's a long story, I appreciate, but yeah, if we can maybe discuss that today for anyone who hasn't read the book or seen you on My Online Nightmare. So you met Will online, and what you mentioned in the book, he was very complimentary. He said, the profile that he discovered of yours was unlike anyone else that he's spoken to, and he was almost very honest about what he wanted. How did you feel in those first initial chats?
I thought, he came across on the emails that he sent me as being really open, really genuine, very heartfelt. Particularly he told me in the very first email that he couldn't have kids because he had mumps as a child. And so, he seemed sort of, he said it was no baggage, but that was just something that had stopped him having main relationships and made him chase his career around the globe, I think is the expression he used. He seemed to be really open, really honest and really straightforward, and we really clicked actually. He seemed to have read all the books I'd read. He liked sort of similar kind of music. He was seemed very humble but very articulate and quite creative, and it just sort of clicked.
How often do you guys kind of speak?
From the first email, it was 10 times a day. It was very, very, sort of like back and forth for, sort of like 2 weeks, and then we started talking on the phone, and again that was 10 times a day. When he changed phone numbers, it was texting. Very similar to I would have thought most beginnings of any relationship, whether it's online or not. It was probably a little bit more intense than I was comfortable with. He was definitely leading the relationship forward. So I was kind of reserved because I was a single mum, so I was a bit reserved because I don't want to bring him into the house. He just seemed to sort of tick all the boxes. Yeah.
And then obviously you guys decided to meet. How did you kind of feel before you met him? Were there any kind of apprehensions?
Oh yeah, God, I remember. I actually changed my outfit, I think, about 3 times before I went out to meet him. Yeah. It was one of those that, I can't remember exactly what I wore, but I was, sort of like, this could be life-changing. Oh my goodness, wasn't it? So it was sort of just that anticipation of that, and we did meet, and we met at his offices. We went out for a lovely lunch, and just sort of clicked in person as well as we did online on phone.
Before you met, you said in the book that he actually cancelled the first meeting. Is that right? The first date,
no, it wasn't the first date. He was supposed to the first time he was supposed to phone me. He was said, "Oh, I'll call you in an hour or something," and I was sitting there waiting, and nothing happened. And I emailed him and nothing back, whereas I normally got something immediately. That went on for days, and that absolute silence for days. And I was really worried because I thought he'd fallen down the stairs or something, because he was so adamant that he was going to phone me, and once I gave him the phone number, it just disappeared. So after 3 days, he contacted me saying, really sorry, you've been called away to work, I had to drop everything wrong. And I was just like, forget it, go away, I'm not interested. You said you were going to do something, you didn't do it, go away. And he was like, no, really, he really genuinely was sorry, sort of like really desperate to actually have that phone call. And it didn't make any sense, because why, if you assume when somebody does that, they're just not interested, But then this guy was going to all this effort and all this kind of like really, really trying, really saying, come on, I'm really, really sorry, it really is a genuine, just I couldn't, it was out with my control, couldn't do anything about it, please, I really want to speak to you. And then when he did call, he was clearly really engaged and really interested. He wasn't kind of, well, we're not kind of bother. So it just didn't fit with the actions and what you were saying and doing just didn't fit with the actual.
Did you at any kind of point did you feel suspicious? I mean, it's obviously it's nice to hear those kind of positive feeling, you know, positive feedback from someone that you're speaking with that you kind of like. Did you kind of looking back? Do you think it was almost a way to kind of lure you into getting his trust, or?
It was a test.
Yeah.
It was a test to see whether or not. I mean, the thing is, it's jumping ahead really, but the thing about psychopaths is they get really, really bored, and what they want is the challenge. So, just going into a relationship smoothly and having, you know, is not interesting to a psychopath. What they actually want is to drop the ball and then try and pick it up again. You know, that's what's fun to them, is the challenge of actually doing that. And that was a sort of a thing throughout the actual relationship. In fact, you know, is a classic psychopath thing, psychopath, sociopath, narcissist sort of thing.
So, I mean, after your kind of first initial dates, things seemed to move pretty quickly. You met your daughter, you ended up
I got a dozen roses to my office. We got engaged. That in itself is a tale. It's like the trouble with this is the reason I had to write 60,000 words to explain it, because it was such a complicated story.
So in depth, yeah.
We got engaged. He met my daughter, and he. I mean, sort of jumping ahead, he would arrange appointments, he would arrange dates, and then he would just not show up.
Yeah.
And I would get sort of I'm coming, and then just disappear. And you know, I got so close and ended the relationship so many times. Just went, I'm not having this. I do not put up this behaviour. And he would just come back going, I'm really sorry. That was work. So one day what he did is he sat me down and he says, I need to tell you what I do for a living. And the whole afternoon when that was going on, first of all, my phone started beeping with SIM updates saying MOD relay and CI relay. There was all sorts of things going on, but basically he sat down and told me that he worked for the CIA,
right.
That he was an intelligence officer. He wasn't a spy, he wasn't James Bond, he was one of the IT guys who sits in the van.
Okay.
You know, so it wasn't as glamorous as it sounded, but you know that this was. And the one thing he said is, you don't have to believe any of this; it will all be proved in time.
Right.
You know, sort of like it'll all have, you know, there'll be evidence that show you. So just hold off. And we'll find out this is the real truth, because I know how bizarre it sounds. So I kind of suspended disbelief and waited, and he got paid in money packets from the MOD, because he was supposed to secondment to the MOD. He used to carry a gun in Edinburgh. I know for Americans don't, so I wonder why that's a problem. But yes, he used to carry a gun. There's various things. People would call me now after that incident and say, he can't come, he's been called away. So now at least with if there was a date or there was something we were doing or anything else and he couldn't come, at least now I got a message via ODC relay, which is the official Department of Central Intelligence, or via MOD relay to tell me that he wasn't able to come, etc. So there was a support structure in place that was it was proved that he was what he was doing.
Of course, yeah. And then obviously you wouldn't have any suspicions at that point, because there's various things like that that would almost.
Well, as when things went on as well, he actually showed me his office in Westminster. You see, he was working under John Prescott in the Deputy Prime Minister's office.
What was your life like during that time when he said he was this intelligence officer?
It got rather scary. I mean, initially it was fine. It seemed very glamorous. It was like living in part of a film. But there were occasions when I was followed once. By somebody, and he taught me various things on how to keep myself safe, and how to notice if someone's following you and stuff like that. And I did notice someone following me, I jumped out the shop and ran around a corner and took my jacket off and took my hair out with a ponytail or whatever, and sort of so I was slightly different looking, and hid behind this wall, and saw the guy come out and stand in the street literally looking. And then clocked me and kind of went at that and shot off across the road. I mean, he was very clearly following me. It wasn't like I was just being suspicious. There was somebody following me. And when I called him, he was like, "Oh, you have to get yourself to a public place. You sit there, there'll be people there. You won't see them, but there'll be people there checking the area, etc." I mean, it was quite frightening stuff.
Yeah, no, of course.
But I mean, up until 2004. By which time it turned out that he wasn't infertile. He was able to have children because, miraculously I got pregnant twice, 2 children by him. The things started to get a bit scary after he tried to leave the intelligence services. and people started blackmailing him, having found out where his family lived, saying that if we didn't give him money, that they would kidnap the kids and rip bits off them and send them through the post unless we came up with money to do it. So.
And then did you eventually come up with the money? And
I sold my flat, I sold my life insurance policy, I sold my grand piano, I sold everything. I sold everything I had to keep my children safe. Who wouldn't?
Of course, yeah, of course, yeah.
So, but yeah, it's. I mean, it was only when the money ran out that things.
Right.
I mean, by that time I was in my late 30s, and I had 3 children, living with my parents because I had nothing. I had literally nothing, but my 3 lovely children. Yeah, that's when everything changed.
Yeah. So I mean, after all of that, I mean, how did everything kind of come to a head, and you eventually find out what he actually was?
Well, it's in the 5th of, well, it was quite again, complicated story.
Yeah.
But the shortened version is that I got a phone call from from his other wife, and what had happened is a month or 2 earlier, he had been set up with police sting by one of his fiancées. And I say one of his fiancées. At the time, he had 5 fiancées and 2 wives. So he'd used her credit card and fraudulently, and so she set up a police sting at the car he was driving, which belonged to me, and the police rang me and said, "Where's your car?"
Right.
Which was a very loaded question, and I thought was really a weird question, and I said, my husband's driving. And they said, "Oh, thank you very much," and hung up. Because what had happened is when they'd arrested him, they'd found papers in the car pertaining to his other wife. Marriage certificate and stuff like that. So they knew when I'd said that he was a bigamist on top of everything else. So they charged him with bigamy, fraud, firearms, and not mentioning his dress in the Sex Offenders Act, which again is a whole other story. But that was sort of how it all came out and such. But the other wife phoned me and said, "Are you Mrs. Jordan?" I said yes, and she said, "Are you also Mary Turner Thompson?" And I said yes, and she said, "Have you been told I'm an agent?" Because I had been told that he had an agency wife who had allowed him, because on paper, allowed him to stay in the country before he got married to me, and then that was all cleared away, etc. So I said yes, and she said, "I've been told you're an agent." And it was those words that really sort of shattered the wall matrix.
How did you feel at that moment?
Losing my voice. It's not emotional, it's just broken. It was weird. It was a purely physical reaction. I felt my blood go cold, literally. It's a really strange expression, but it's so true. I could feel it going around my body, absolutely cold, and I actually started to shake. But I knew absolutely, without a shadow of doubt, that she was telling the truth. It wasn't, it was, in a lot of ways, I had been waiting 6 years to have that piece of evidence put in front of me. I had been, all along, I had been going, I knew there was something not right. I knew, the thing was, you'd look at this guy, you'd never go, well, he's a drug dealer, or he's a, this or that. He was calm, humble, genuine. It's not God's gift, but he was, tall, attractive, did the housework when he was home. He was hardworking, he was loving, he was supportive. Everything he said, everything he did was the perfect husband, except for going away, except for this awful situation we were in.
Do you think during those 6 years, if something like Who You're or kind of like a checking service was available, do you think you would have looked
do you know
into
what?
his past more?
In 2000, which is when I met him, there was Google. I'm not even sure Google had started then, but there was a facility. I did actually look up online Will Jordan, which is his name, William Allen Jordan. Let's get that name out there. I did Google it, but of course it was Will Jordan, the baseball player, do such and such. And it just didn't come up with any nothing. And one of the things I actually mentioned in the book at the end, when I was sort of giving advice about how to keep yourself safe, was check out 192.com, and actually there are facilities online at the time, which was 10 years ago, to do it. But I think sort of having a service now, that absolutely vital. And if there had been something like this out there, I wouldn't have lost £200,000. I wouldn't have two wonderful children, so I can't regret anything. You know, so like I think, but at least I would have waited till I was pregnant with the second one, and then.
In hindsight.
In hindsight is 2020 as well, isn't it? So I don't want to change anything because of that. But I think, you know, people going into this situation, absolutely it would save them, because the, you know, being able to know, you know, the fact that he I mean, I'm not sure it would work for him. Because he doesn't register for voting, he doesn't. Nothing's under his name; it's all under the wife's names or anything else. So he doesn't really have that kind of footprint. But certainly, certainly, what it would have done is highlighted that there was an issue.
There was an issue, yeah. There would have been
Unfortunately, he would have said it was the issue because he was working for security services. But
you'd had that extra kind of sense of trust.
He would have covered it somehow, yeah. But at least it would have, you know, as I say, it would have highlighted.
Of course, yeah. Why did you decide to write the book?
Oh gosh, when I first discovered the whole situation, my mother within a couple of weeks was actually diagnosed terminally ill. So it was a great year, 2006. It was a really fantastic one. And one of the things she said is, you really have to write this down. I went into a bookshop and I said, I want to read a book. I found out my husband's a binglist and a con man, and I want to read a book about it. And the bookseller went, no, I can't give you a book. There isn't one. And I thought that was extraordinary. I thought it was utterly insane that you know, this had not been done before. So I walked into a publisher and I said, this has just happened to me and I'm going to write a book about it. And they went, thank you, I'll have that. So I was actually commissioned to write it. And it was initially published by Mainstream, which was Penguin Random House now. And they, you know, they just thought it was brilliant. The first time any bigamous wife come forward.
Of course,
It's just like,
I mean, you now speak at various conferences and stuff like that. How do you feel people have reacted to your story? You know, being the victim of something like this.
It's extraordinary. I mean, 10 years ago, when it first came out in the press, and after My Online Nightmare as well, the comments on some of the comments on Twitter, and some of the comments in the press. I did a This Morning interview a few weeks ago, and the same thing happens every time. And you get the people who hear the highlights. You know, they hear the said he was a spy, that rips off for money, that, you know, etc. They get the sort of the peaks, and they instantly turn around and go, oh God, how can you be so stupid? You know, they're sort of like such gullible, naive, desperate, needy women who get conned by these people. And it's this victim shaming culture that we have, and I think it's absolutely shocking. I think it's awful. And I think it keeps a lot of people silent, and they don't talk about it. And I think, you know, 100 years ago, women wouldn't come forward and say that were raped because they would be branded as having, you know, been loose women, or having asked for it in some way. And we all know that's wrong now. We know absolutely that's wrong. But it took the women coming forward and saying, this happened to me, and I'm not ashamed of it. And nobody should ever have to be ashamed of having been a victim of a crime. It's not the fact that the victims are gullible, stupid or needy or anything else. It's the fact that they actually are normal human beings looking for love. When I was saying before, I got into a taxi earlier on today, and I assume the taxi driver has a driving licence and a taxi licence, and I assume he knows where he's going. When I go to the doctor, I assume the guy has a medical degree. You know, when was the last time you asked them for it? You know, last time you asked the doctor to show you their medical degree to check that they are who they say they are. You know, we make genuine assumptions that people are who they say. Well, we're having this conversation, you're assuming I'm telling the truth. Because I've got a book out, it does help. And he's got criminal convictions against him, it does help. But, you know, there is, you know, we assume people are telling us the truth. And even when you're in a relationship with somebody, you know, you have a basic assumption of what's true and what's not. And the very first thing people tell you, like, I'm infertile, you know, you can't see their fair reason for being a lie for that. So you assume that that's true. You know, when you get pregnant and they go, oh my God, it's a miracle, I was told it was 1 in a million chance, you know, etc. You don't doubt them. And by the time you're in there, you've been gaslighted so much as well, and there's forms of brain control, like mind control and brainwashing that these guys do, that hooks you in like a cult almost, to the point where they're the only one you can trust. They're the only one that will tell you the truth, you know. And they do, there's a thing called black ops hypnosis, which I talk about in the book as well, which is how they manipulate emotions. It's quite scary, actually. And it's actually very easy to do.
Yeah, of course.
Sort of like I can demonstrate, but I don't know if we'll have time.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But it's fascinating. I mean, it's a fascinating. I mean, one of the things you said, how did I feel afterwards, is it was a relief at the end to find out that actually we weren't living in fear. These people weren't after us. It was just him. So actually, it was like coming out of the Matrix. It was like the world is a different place now entirely, and it's just made me realise that it really are. 1 in 100 people are psychopaths. Right? 1 in 100 people, either psychopath, sociopath, or narcissist. It all comes under the antisocial personality disorder banner. But 1 in 100, which means 1%. So if you have I did a theatre tour with John Ronson on Psychopath Night, it's called, and we have an audience of 900 people. It means that 9 people in that audience are psychopaths, except that psychopaths like going to talk about psychopaths, so it's probably more. But it's quite scary when you think about it. How many people they affect in 1 year as well. It's far more. It's not just one victim. And Will Jordan
Family, friends.
Well, he had 2 wives, 5 fiancés. Now, all of those wives and fiancés has brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, cousins, workmates, who are all being affected by their loss of money, their loss of self-esteem, the situation. They're all single mothers, so they've all got children already, and the fathers of the original children as well are affected by it. So it's like the knock-on effect that even just that one psychopath has is actually at least 100 people in 1 year. So if you've actually not been targeted by a psychopath, you're actually really lucky. And it's like, I used to think that it's more likely to win the lottery than I was to actually be a target of a psychopath or a sociopath. And it's like when you actually really know, it's frightening. It's really frightening.
Wow, I mean, fascinating story, Mary.
I would say one other thing actually about psychopaths, though, that particularly with regard to people dating online and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not everyone online is a psychopath.
Of course, yeah.
Right? But every psychopath is online. So it's
staying safe
and safe, really important. It's not disloyal or nasty or selfish or suspicious or paranoid to just say, I want to know for sure.
Of course.
We're so, particularly in the UK, we are so not wanting to offend.
Yeah.
So I don't want to offend you, so I won't say, give me my phone back. I gave the taxi driver my phone this morning to show him where on the Google Maps the place was, and as I did it, I thought, am I getting that back? But I didn't say anything. Didn't say anything because we don't.
Yeah.
It's like not one of us would consider going into a doctor's office and saying, I would like to see your qualifications, please. And yet, we should actually be able to do that. It's that your life. There was a doctor in America who was diagnosing people with cancer so that he could get the money from the treatment. So people were getting chemotherapy where they didn't have cancer because the guy was getting money, and he was a con man, and he was getting money from poisoning these people who didn't have cancer. But those people would never in a million years have stopped to say, show me your medical certificate, show me the evidence. You've said I've got cancer, show me. And it's they're not in a million years would anyone think to do that. Not on a day-to-day basis. And those people aren't stupid or gullible or naive or anything else. Yeah. It's like you take it on faith that people say these things. So it's like, advice is, don't feel embarrassed by saying, I want to verify, because it shows you're smart. It shows you actually, you're not naive. I was naive. I didn't think people like him existed. And it took this to happen for me to realise that these people are out there and everywhere, and they are predators and we're the prey, and they basically have they treat the rest of the world like they're a sinless character. They don't have any emotion towards them at all. So have I told you about the definition of a psychopath?
No.
We could go on for hours here, but there's 2 points. That's actually slightly further back behind the ears, but there's 2 points in your head that if I sit here and I snap my fingers over, you'd wince, yeah? You could even the eyes closed, just thinking, right? And what it is you feel a physical, chemical, empathic response to somebody else's pain. So it's almost actually like 2 needles going down into your skull. Actually, I wonder why that's why the devil horns, but anyway, it's like 2 hot needles going down into your skull. You can sort of identify that feeling. It's like, ow, right? Psychopaths don't have that. They don't have that chemical empathic response to somebody else's pain. So when they see someone getting hurt, they're just curious. So they then watch everyone else go ooh, and they go ooh as well. Psychopaths don't yawn when other people yawn. And everyone get everyone on Facebook yawning. But yeah, they don't even talking about yawning makes people want to yawn, right? But psychopaths don't have that because that's an empathic response. So they just literally have no guilt, no remorse, no love, no empathy, and that everybody around them is just a toy to be played with. It's like a cat playing with a mouse. You know, which is why it will never, they will, no matter how many times you put Will Jordan in jail, and he's just come out of jail in America again, he will never change. He will just adapt. He will learn from people he's in prison with, and he will adapt and get better at it. Changes his name now so that people can't find him, because now I've outed him worldwide. He's, you know, when people find out who they've been pregnant by, they contact me, and we've got a nice little community group. We've got a Facebook group of
I was going to say, do you stay in contact with some
the other victims?
It's great to have that kind of community. And
it is actually. It's very supportive, and actually, every time he comes up for parole and things like that, we all write en masse to the judge, and just say, look, this is not just a bit of a bad lad. This is an active psychopath who targets and impregnates women to rip them off for money. He now has, that I know of, 13 children by 6 different women. So my 15-year-old has 3 15-year-old siblings.
Wow.
So when he contacted me saying that he was infertile and incapable of having children, his wife and the wife's nanny were pregnant.
We could talk about this story for ages, but I mean, thank you for sharing your advice. I mean, from what I took away from that was the main piece of advice that you want to share with, you know, victims who have unfortunately become the victim of a scam is not to be worried about coming forward. And you know, if you do have those worries, say something, speak out. You know, there's nothing wrong with doing that.
I get letters from people about twice a week who've read the book and saying thank you so much, because they no longer feel alone. And they've felt like 16 years. So one lady wrote to me saying she's never been able to tell anyone what happened to her, because she feels so ashamed of having been victimised. And it's utterly mad that anyone should feel ashamed of being a victim of a crime. So it happens, and it's happening all the time. And yes, speak out about it, absolutely. Be honest and straightforward. You have nothing to be embarrassed by. You know, and the more people you talk to about it, the more you'll find other people have had it too. And if anybody is, I mean, contact me via the Facebook group or whatever, and I'm happy to give advice personally as well. But absolutely, and verify. I mean, if you can, I think that the service you do with who you is absolutely brilliant. I think the idea of just being able to turn around, if I was to ever date again, which I don't, but if I was dating, you know, I would say, I think actually if I was dating, I think my entire family would put a private detective on them. But yeah, I do think it's not an act of distrust to actually ask somebody to verify they are who they say they are. You know, it's a mutual thing.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today, Mary. It's been fascinating. And obviously, if you want to find out more about Who You, just come visit us at whoyou.com. And thank you for joining us.